The Assassin's Creed Shadows gameplay and extra footage that I got hide some very interesting secrets that I want to go over, and we also got some open world shots thanks to an Apple event and way more. Of course, if you are curious or hyped for Assassin's Creed Shadows, leave a like and let's go. If you have a keen eye, you maybe noticed the Abstergo logo during the very short map footage. It does not move or anything, but it's very curious indeed. Now overall the map looks very similar to that of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Seems like they covered up the tabs that we normally find at the top of the screen to not reveal the kind of menus we can expect, but the bottom row has a very similar layout. And as you might remember, when looking at the Valhalla map, we had to return to the main menu at the exact spot that we now find the Abstergo logo in the Shadows gameplay. Like, my theory is that instead of having a main menu like the ones we've seen for Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla and Mirage, Infinity is going to completely replace that. And that makes sense because we know that when booting up an Assassin's Creed game starting with Shadows, we will first go to this new interface where we can also see everything else that is going on with the Assassin's Creed franchise, including all the different games. Then we can select that game and immediately jump into the action. So yeah, it seems that we also have a shortcut to quickly go back to that Infinity interface. And by the way, Assassin's Creed Infinity does not seem to be the final name. The game director was asked about Infinity during a GameSpot live show, and he mentioned that it was the code name and that it's something that will grow over time with each new Assassin's Creed release. And well, Steven Datillo from GameFile now revealed that what was going to be called Assassin's Creed Infinity will be called the Animus Hub, from which you can launch different experiences. And that name totally makes more sense because this is where the modern day story will be told moving forward. So we will not be forced out of the Animus while playing an Assassin's Creed game anymore, starting with Shadows. Game director Charles confirmed that they will reveal more about the Animus Hub at a later date. Like, right now they want to focus on Shadows, which makes sense, but of course, when we got new info, I'll be the first to tell you here. The full Assassin's Creed Shadows map was, by the way, now also revealed in the Collector's Edition trailer, because you get a physical version with that edition. And in the bottom right corner, we see which part of Japan it actually is, and it's relatively small, which I think is actually cool, as it means that they can more realistically recreate these landscapes to make them feel closer to reality. And we totally see that with how big the mountains and cities feel, while in the previous RPGs everything felt relatively small because of how they wanted to fit as much locations into the map as possible. We also know the Season Pass will include new lands, so the map will expand post-launch, but the base game size should be comparable to Origins. Although, as said before, Origins did have some empty deserts without any activities, so I still think that Shadows will have more going on, even though it has the same map size. And we now see the 9 provinces, and thanks to those, we know what cities we can expect, with the highlights including Osaka and Kyoto. And we of course saw Kyoto already in the really cool concept art recently. It looks massive, and in the new open world gameplay Ubisoft shared, we also see the immense scale of the world, with huge cities on top of high mountains. This is probably Otsu in the Omni province, looking at the large amount of water that is around the castle. And this shot with the enormous waterfall in particular is really stealing the show. No naval stuff in this game likely, but we do see this small boat that we can likely use as well, which seems to be a nice upgrade from the small boats that we saw in the previous RPG games. Now there are way more interesting things I noticed in the gameplay. Of course, a quick reminder, I'm doing a giveaway for the Ultimate Edition of the game. Check the link in the pinned comment and be a subscriber if you want to participate. Now in the footage, we of course saw some icons for abilities, and that seemed to confirm some interesting things. Like this icon when playing Naue is the exact same as the chain assassination symbol from Valhalla, which very likely means that she also has a way to take out at least 1 second target after assassinating one. Of course, your theories are more than welcome, but it's interesting that it's an active ability now, and why is it linked to the katana? Because as I told you in my previous video that I will link to after this one, the top and bottom abilities are linked to your weapon. This was confirmed to me by Ubisoft, but you can also see it when Naue, after assassinating this target, changes from the katana to the kusarigama. The icons change. And the reason Naue switches weapons here is in order to perform this long-ranged assassination, because in Assassin's Creed Shadows, every weapon has a special assassination linked to them. So for the Kusarigama, it's this attack that they call Rush Assassination. Yes, that's the same name as the teleport ability you have in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where you throw the broken spear. For the Katana, the special assassination is the one where you kill a target through the Soji door, which is mostly silent, by the way, not completely, so be careful with that. And again, you really see her grab the katana first before she can do the special assassination with that weapon. And you cannot do these assassinations from the start, by the way, but by using a weapon you gain XP towards the weapon's specific skill tree. In that skill tree you find the active but also passive abilities like the special assassinations, and I think that's a really cool system. And Game Rant learned that for the Tento and Hidden Blade combo you can do a classic double assassination with those two tools, so like we saw in the cinematic trailer. This for one means that you can only do this after progressing in the Tanto skill tree, so basically by using the weapon first, and also that you need to have that smaller dagger equipped as one of your two weapons in order to do the double assassination. Again, I love this because first you were only picking a weapon because of how it played in combat, but now you have to think of the assassinations you can do with that weapon as well. It also means that weapons are way more interesting now, so apart from playing different in combat, it will also be fun when you find a new weapon type to learn what the assassination is that the weapon can do. And I'm already thinking far ahead, but of course in Valhalla we saw a ton of new weapon types added after launch, which will likely happen for Shadows as well, which doesn't only mean that we get a new combat playstyle, but also a brand new assassination. And brand new abilities with each weapon. This is by the way the same system they used in Assassin's Creed Jade, with in that game certain weapons also having exclusive abilities, making legendary items way more special. Maybe Ubisoft will do that in Shadows as well. It would at least make finding loot way more interesting if it could also include a brand new ability you've never seen before. And this is a big change, but ranged weapons seem to take up the same slot as melee weapons in Shadows. Like here, Yasuke has both the katana and the Teppo gun in a weapon slot. And when switching to the gun and taking out enemies with headshots, we see that he has no abilities for that weapon yet, but high chance there will be active abilities for the gun and bow too. Yes, as you might know, Yasuke can use a bow as well. In the Collector's Edition trailer, we actually got our first looks at what bows will look like in this game. They seem pretty large. But yeah, let me know if you would trade one melee weapon to be able to use a bow or gun, because again, it seems like we cannot use two melee weapons and a ranged weapon anymore, like in Odyssey and Origins. And this, by the way, also the exact same as what we see in Assassin's Creed Jade. I'm not sure what's happening with that mobile game, by the way. It looks close to being done. I played it at Gamescom last year, but we haven't heard an update for almost a year now. That concept art book from the Collector's Edition includes way more beautiful shots, by the way. This looks awesome. We also see new armor for Yasuke, including a Japanese robe that we also saw him wear in the gameplay trailer. Like right now, we only see him use his signature samurai armor, but there's going to be, of course, way more. And I got some interesting info about his stealth moves and assassinations with weapons as well, and way more exclusive details. So if you want to know more about Assassin's Creed Shadows, I'll of course keep you posted. Subscribe to not miss the next video. A like would really help me out. And check out my previous video with my initial gameplay impressions after watching the new gameplay by clicking on the screen. I will speak to you very soon. Goodbye.